Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, CardHoarder.com, Alter Sleeves, as well as Twitch subscribers and Patreon supporters just like you. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl.
Hey guys.
And Ruben Bressler.
Hey, what's up?
We just left a live stream.
I know. This is like the most natural switchover from pre-show we've had, because we literally were watching the thing as it was happening.
Yeah, we watched history happen before our very eyes. If you did miss the pre-show, subscribers to this channel get access to our not safe for work version early. The F-bomb button is checked. We dropped a few in there. We discussed a few things we liked and didn't like about that announcement going on in there. And that was crazy, but we kick it off with our first pick and our giveaway. Get your chance at $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffInc.com for typing raffle in the chat, but subscribe first to get two chances. Use those Bezos bucks, that hanging prime, as Ruben likes to say.
Check out your hanging primes, y'all. If you got hanging, nobody likes a hanging prime.
No one likes that.
If you've got hanging primes, you should get that looked at and see if you have hanging primes. Consult your Amazon account.
And of course, support your favorite streamer with your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight, which is of course thanks to our sponsor CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. Well, we did the first pick thing, which was hang out and watch that stream. Sort of the TLDWs. It's a lot.
So I think I can pretty easily summarize this,
okay.
And I'm going to do it because I have less stringent opinions than my esteemed co-hosts.
So you're trying to get your word count up.
Exactly. I've got to put in my hours so that I get paid. Otherwise, I'm going to get called into the boss's office. So they announced Alchemy, which is going to be a digital-only set parallel to standard and becoming historic. The way that it works basically is like Hearthstone. They are going to have live changes to the cards instead of cards being sent out and not being able to be changed or errated. They are now going to be able to update and change cards as they see fit going forward, pretty much whenever they want, probably weekly. Similarly, Historic, which is already a digital only format, will stay one format, and it will also feature the changes made to the cards. Standard will become two. There will become Paper Standard, and then there will become Alchemy Standard. And those will run parallel and both be playable formats. The paper-only formats of Standard, Modern, Legacy, etc., those are staying paper. None of the changes to Alchemy are affecting paper in any way today.
Yeah.
And then they announced a bunch of new cards. There will be 63 cards.
63 new cards.
63 new cards added
digital
to Alchemy.
Only.
That will be digital only.
Right.
And then they also announced a couple of changes to other cards. They made Omnath 5 mana and only Scry instead of Draw. They made a bunch of changes to a bunch of things in Standard, like Luminarch Aspirant, and they nerfed Alrund's Epiphany a little bit. They made Cosmos Elixir a little bit better, and did some tweaking to try to make Standard a little bit more interesting and well-rounded.
Yeah. So the summation of my concerns were, I think that stores might have an issue with this because I am now motivated even less to keep up a Standard collection or to play Standard in paper form, because I can sort of play the real Standard and or the Standard that's juiced up with these sick mythics that they're included in digital only formats, versus, again, keeping it up with paper. And so does that hurt event attendance? We don't know. And the other is 63 is a lot, in my opinion. And I would have loved two historic, releases or whatever, versus, or older sets being added to the client at a faster rate than this.
Well, they said that they're gonna not add as many cards in the future.
About 30 per, they said, right?
Still more than I thought.
That's a lot. That's 30 cards is a lot of cards. I mean, are they all rares and mythics? Or are they going to be commons and uncommons? I don't think they ever mentioned.
Does it matter if it's digital?
I assume it would be a balance similar to like Mystical Archive type deal.
It does because of wild cards. You know what I mean?
Oh, because of wild cards. Sure. Well, okay.
Getting a mythic wild card is sometimes really difficult.
Can I jump in real quick on Evan's comment here about store play?
Please
I don't know if it's going to hurt store play as much as you might think. And here's why. You could play standard from the comfort of your own home just as well as you could go to the store. I feel like people who would prefer not to go into the store for any real reason could already do that. Yes, you could play this other format, but I would argue that those are not the people who come into the store anyway.
Maybe. You know, I mean, every store, and also every store kind of has its own ecosystem. There's super commander heavy stores. There's stores that, like, you know, nearby that'll get 40 people for Yu-Gi-Oh! And won't fire a draft of Magic. Like, it just, it's where you're from and where you're at. So there's a lot of different sort of use cases and whatnot. And again, obviously, I hope this doesn't hurt anything, and I hope it makes everything great, you know, but. That's
like saying, like, the addition of historic is making my standard events not fire. Like, if people want to go into the store, they're going to. They're going to play those formats. I don't know if adding separate formats is necessarily going to change that a ton, because we've already had the ability to play from the comfort of our own home. We have tournaments online that we could join through Melee and now whatever that other nonsense program is. Crokies does tournaments. James does tournaments. DGen's now doing tournaments. So, like, they didn't need to go to the store to begin with.
Yeah. I think one of the things is that after like a year's worth of these adjustments and changes and tweaks, it's going to be very confusing. That's my concern. It'll be very confusing to even remember what's different between paper and what's going on with Alchemy, and even remember what the other metagame's supposed to be, because it's so weird and different. And historic is just like 7 different ways from what it is today, because everything that's changed, all the digital cards being added, 30 cards per set being added into the client that isn't in cardboard. I mean, standard a year from now is going to be just like upside down compared to cardboard. Like, it's just going to be not anything close.
Alchemy, you mean, is going to be upside down?
Standard and Alchemy, right? The difference between them will be
the vast. Difference between standard and Alchemy will be vast.
Like right now, it's like here,
in paper will be the same as standard on Arena.
Sure.
Yes.
That's great. I'm just saying that, like, you know, it depends on how many things they change, how often they change stuff, and, you know, how those changes stack up. Because one of the things I like to think of when someone comes up with a thing that's kind of going to be an ongoing thing is like, what happens 5 years from now? What happens when you've added 500 digital cards, you know, to historic, and all these cards to standard every year, and all these changes every single month, for example? It's going to be weird. Good, bad, ugly, I don't know. It's going to be weird.
I mean, it's going to be the same as, you know, the addition of any format. Like, you've been adding cards to Legacy forever, so it's vastly different than Standard's going to be.
This is changing. This is errata cards. This card errata. This is new. To be clear, this is different.
I'm going to throw you both into the Rancor pit at this point. I do need the red zone slide to go up. Because you two are sort of dancing around the central issue of, is this good or is this bad? I have not made up my mind yet.
Sure.
So sway me. Dance for me.
Look, I'm not sure either. I mean, like, this is, you know, I like to look at all the different facets of it. I like to say, hey, could it be bad for this? Could it be great for this? It could absolutely make Wizards money because it's more like wild cards. It could make players play more because it's removing some bad feelings from Standard and making things a little more balanced.
Here's my main confusion with your argument. What will be negatively affected by this change? You're asserting that stores, friendly local game stores, will be in some way hurt by Alchemy, right?
I think Standard tournament attendance, just in general, wherever you're playing it, could be affected negatively by having a format. Again, think about it from a year from now. They've added over 100 cards to Standard, and they're rares and mythics with big splashy effects. So we're talking, there's gonna be multiple decks that run nothing but, you know, focus around these digital cards. And then there's your local game store that has the old standard 1.0, Standard before they fixed the dumb mythic, Standard before they stopped blah, blah, blah from doing so-and-so because that was way overpowered. Do you want to go back to play the way overpowered crap? Or do you want to play the fixed stuff that's in the client because they got rid of all the, you know, the mistakes that they made in 1.0? That's a negative outlook. I'm admitting that, but I think it's important to realize there are some risks here versus all upside.
So the only reason I think that is a bit different. Like you were saying, the fixed cards, you were all on board for fixing the cards.
Oh, yeah.
But so it sounds like the added cards is what's concerning you. But I think having historic and modern and things like that online is already an extra large card pool, and it's not stopping people from coming to the standard tournaments to begin with, even though they have all these extra flashy, more fun, unique things that they could be doing in historic or modern. But people are still going to standard. So it seems very similar. I agree that maybe people won't want to go to the card store because I don't want to get beat by Epiphany, but I don't have to do that if I play online. But I think that the players who like to play in the stores are going to do that anyway.
The other question you have to say is, where are you going to invest your money? Are you going to the local card store and buying singles? Or are you trying to get your standard deck that has these Alchemy cards to get the Alchemy cards? Like,
but don't we have that already?
We already have that. Look, I mean, look how much money Secret Lair has brought in. Wizards is over $1 billion in revenue so far this year. So like the money's moved. The money has been moving, and product has been more difficult to get a hold of. And we've talked about that over the weeks. But
paper's always been expensive. Magic's always been expensive. I don't think that this is a drop in the bucket to like get people to not show up to your F&M.
Yeah, no, this isn't just, wrecking balls to F&Ms or anything. But, to me, it would start trends, and I would, keep close eye on them, and Wizards has that data. So high five. I don't think it's going to necessarily...
Not every slope is a slippery slope. Right. Some slopes are just slopes, But it is a slope, and we have talked about it. I feel like this is a natural evolution. I definitely agree that keeping an eye on it, and because they have gone hog wild when it comes to, Secret Lair and, the We Are Brain Dead partnerships and all this crazy other outside of Wizards Magic stuff. Mm-hmm. But, I'm not necessarily swayed by the opinion that it's gonna be the death knell.
To paper.
No, nothing's going to kill paper. Nothing's going to kill Magic. And I'm not saying that. I just say that, it could affect attendance. Maybe. Right. We'll see.
Now, by the same token, I also am not swayed that it's a good thing or that it will matter. Are people going to care about Alchemy?
I'm not sure. Well, see, wasn't the entire premise of the last 2 years of our existence in Magic has been, do you care about Constructed? Because it doesn't seem like Wizards cares about Constructed. The things that cared about Constructed were taken away or dismantled over time, and less was given, less decisions were not being made by competitive minded players. We're now focused on Commander. They're now premier sets, not standard sets. There's this refocusing, there's a play design, there's casual play design now. That's a thing they want to focus in on. So I don't know, Will it matter? It's just weird when they were like, will this make, are you trying to make this card more competitive? And they're like, no. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Of course you're trying to make it competitive. Why would you change Cosmos Elixir if you didn't want it to be a little bit better than it is? So that makes it a little bit
maybe the competitive side is maybe they took that as a standard thing, an actual standard, because in competitive play, hypothetically right now, there is no Alchemy tournaments. So it isn't technically competitive, right? Because everything's either standard or paper or whatever. So maybe it was just there probably will be, but I mean, maybe that's not how they took the question. I'm not sure.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
I'm more interested in, I fail to see how people are going to care about Alchemy without some amount of stakes. Because that's why Standard works. Standard is a format because competitive play exists. That's how Standard was developed. When Magic invented Standard, they were like, we want people to buy new cards instead of collecting all the old cards. How do we make it relevant? We make a Pro Tour, and then we make the Pro Tour only the cards from the last 2 years. That's literally how Standard was invented, or Type 2 at the time.
Sure.
Without a competitive scene, you don't just naturally get Standard. And obviously current Standard has outgrown the need for the Pro Tour, but Alchemy doesn't have the benefit of that provenance. They didn't evolve. They were born on third base and thought they hit a triple.
Right.
Whereas Standard got here.
Maybe the goal is Alchemy Brawl, and that will sell the cards, because there's obviously less call for competitive play in Magic than there ever was before. In fact, I would venture to say 90% of the Magic community is not competitive in any way, and they just want to play their one-of decks that do really dumb shit and call it a day. And what is it called when you manipulate the table and do dumb stuff?
turn order or
not turn order. I'm talking about
politics.
Yeah, they just want to politic their way through a game, and then that's how they find it to be fun. So yeah, maybe that's the ultimate goal, is to sell these wacky cards in a brawl format.
I mean, possibly. I mean, this is one of the things we talked about. Like, man, they sure do have a lot of, choose an opponent and target an opponent and any opponent, and you have to click on their face a lot. Adding multiplayer would be huge. And again, this is one of this to me, the arena itself is a game of resources. All right, you put you move them where you want them to go. And every hour of development you spend doing X is an hour of development you spend not doing Y. So, for example, adding multiplayer, or for example, adding older sets. They're not doing those things because they're busy making this stuff. Is that a good use of their time? Question mark. I guess.
I would say it's not exactly as even, because the idea is that they have to have some people in each of the departments regardless to make everything polished and look good.
Sure.
So the argument is that they'd have to get rid of one branch to buff up the other and get more people working on that. So it depends on whether or not there's a balancing act. I just don't think it's necessarily a 1-to-1 ratio. One new card does not equal one old card, right? Because they still have to keep some people employed in this branch, and they don't touch the other branches. It's not like everybody does all the jobs and they can just allocate people willy-nilly.
I have a question for the person who regularly streams Magic the Gathering Arena. Do you care about Alchemy? Is this a thing? I mean, you're a limited player more primarily. Do you know of your, let's call them coworkers or fellow streamers who are going to care about this?
I mean, I think I would be happy to play Standard more if it was a little bit more diverse. Yeah, I mean, if I'm not playing against, oh, look, another Epiphany deck. If we get some cool Elixir decks going around that I can try new things, but my viewer submitted deck lists are boring because I just get slaughtered by the same 3 decks over and over and over again. And people want me to play fun things. I had someone send me a historic squirrel deck yesterday that was a blast to play, but anytime I saw any real cards, I was like, oh, okay, you just win. So we have this huge, wide pool of cards, but such a tiny fraction of them are usable. So as far as a content standpoint, yeah, I think this is going to be really sweet to have access to more things that are going to be more diverse, and it will stay diverse because they can keep twisting the knobs and doing the things that make cards better or worse.
And I think that's going to lead, if the content creators latch onto it, because like I said, we don't really have the pro scene. The way we used to, we don't really have the pro scene. What we have is the content creators. So if the content creators care, then we're Gucci.
That's probably true.
Sure.
Yeah. So if you take viewer submitted deck lists and play Alchemy and, the Jeff Hoaglands of the world and the Amy Zonians and all, the folks that play these wild viewer submitted decks, and they play Alchemy, that's going to get people excited to play a format that they just invented and doesn't really have any history behind it.
I mean, that's the exact same reason why I get sent Secret Lairs and Ben Stark doesn't, right?
If I could give any advice to those who are doing things in the Alchemy format, it is I would focus far more on making bad cards better than making good cards bad. Because the better everything is, the more even it becomes. I know that sounds a little weird. Imagine how they would just love to make Embercleave crap or whatever. It's no, we could go make everything really, better or more efficient, whatever, than make everything suck. And because people are going to be way more excited about making things better than making the cool things that were powerful suck.
It depends. I feel like that's a harder knob to twist, and you have to twist a lot more knobs to bring everything up to the Embercleave Epiphany level. Whereas you could just power down 3 cards and you drastically change the entire format.
Good.
But getting new decks in the field to box with these powerful cards is going to be 30, 50, 100 knobs that they have to actually do. And I don't know if that's better.
They did adjust 10, and 3 were nerfs, 4 were nerfs-ish. And then they made wizard class cost less, right? They just chose some random other stuff.
Some weird random other stuff.
They chose some other stuff. That's fine. Also, they did nothing to ranger class. Oh, by the way. So that's just the best card in the format now. And it's I think that it's fine to nerf 3-4 cards and then lift up 7-8 cards and see what happens.
Yeah.
And also this is their opening salvo. Like, we had a big announcement today. They're going to be twisting knobs every month or every week.
Every 4 weeks after a new set.
Oh,
they will do the new launch. Now, they could maybe have emergency tweaks, but I think that they're supposed to be scheduled to come in at the same time. And
I think that they should just do it all the time. 4 to 6 weeks after is
to just see how things go. Real quick, Evan, I just wanted to say, like, so at one point you're like championing like putting old cards and using manpower in a certain way, but also saying we, instead of depowering 3 cards, which takes 4 people a couple of hours or whatever the case may be to just twist, you want to do 100 to 200 cards to bring everything up to this OP level. That's going to be a ton more manpower hours, which would
I don't think they have
take
to
away
change
from
that
the other
many
things
cards.
you'd like.
I think you can you pick and choose. But what I'm saying is, if they pick and choose more things to buff, then pick and choose more things to power down. I think that's a better strategy. Just sort of overarching per se. Not that, change 100 cards, make everything not suck. No, man, like, maybe this rare could have been like, another toughness or over here, just do those little bumps, because those little bumps are fun and interesting versus like, oh man, my favorite card, is worse now. Like,
I'd be happy to see Alchemy change every day. So, I would think that would be the coolest. But
I know,
I'm
right?
Weird.
Alchemy is coming out as packs. They have the article up. I'll bring it up here on the screen. So they talk about an ever-evolving play mode, new to digital cards, rebalance magic cards. So they're going to give you, when it launches, 3 Alchemy boosters, 6 rare Alchemy individual card rewards, and 1 Alchemy mythic rare in individual card reward. So you're going to have to buy these basically completely separate for, I think they're the standard, 1,000 gold or 15 for 3,000 gems. That's the same price as standard boosters. And of course, you can get them for wild cards as you like. A special Alchemy bundle with 20 Alchemy boosters will be available for 3,000 gems or 15,000 gold, 1 purchase per player ever. So there's that. And if you have the Alchemy cards, standard cards, you have the Alchemy versions. So. But
that seems like a hard sell.
It's having it be a completely other set was interesting. I had sort of heard that they were going to do something like add it to the set so that when you open the set later, you would get an Alchemy card, but it doesn't appear to work that way. But they also kind of said that kind of worked that way in the video, but whatever.
In the meeting, it sounded like that there was going to be regular packs with no Alchemy cards, and then packs with both with the Alchemy cards integrated in, is the way I took it during that like meeting thing.
And that's the way I think they explained it. So yeah. And that's also great. Again, one less gems thing I have to open. But let's move on here, because Lord knows we spent some time on it. Let's talk about Unfinity.
Well, real quick before we move on, 2 minutes ago, Lee Sharp tweeted that there will be an arena open in January that's Alchemy.
Oh, shit.
The qualifier weekend for December season that's occurring in January will be Alchemy events.
Wow. All right. So we are competitive now.
Oh, boy. All right. And that
is an update.
That's going to be a thing. So
if it's, I think that was a necessary thing to do. They needed to have some amount of events. You don't need to put it at a Pro Tour level, but you need to have some events.
Also, the Playblade rework is going live with Alchemy, they said. So apparently Arena is going to look different, basically.
Cool.
I don't know how it's going to look different, but we'll see. Either way, that's the thing. Wizard is putting some weight behind this, some time and effort behind this. A lot of time and effort in the new digital cards, but whatever. All right, let's move on. Pull my thing up here. We move out of the first pick here into Gather the Townsfolk, thanks to our sponsor of cardhoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. All right, check them out. Tell them we sent you. Over to Gather the Townsfolk, we're going to talk about Unfinity, a week that I thought we were just going to be talking about Unfinity, quite frankly. But that's not the case. Unfinity is coming out on April Fool's Day and looks pretty amazing.
First of all, amazing that they're releasing it on April Fool's Day. Just
Agreed.
A+ work.
Good.
It couldn't have come out any other time. I'm super happy.
Yeah, that was a benefit. So I feel, we're getting information about 4 months early or 5 months early even, but I'll take it. Basically, Unstable crushed it. Unstable went back to being reprinted 4 times. Unstable sold really well. It drafted really well. People were excited about it, and so they wanted to do a space theme park thing eventually, is what they kind of came to do. And let's see here. And they got some work from outside. They got the Loading Red Run people to work on it that we talked about before, and some others. And let's see here. They said, well, now that dice rolling exists, why can't sort of Dungeons and Dragons exist? And they said, well, the gold was the token's gold and not an official Magic color, but whatever. And so then they did this thing where they said, well, if we put all the rares and stuff and cards into 2 piles, one that needs silver borders and one that doesn't, then we can see how many they need. And they said, well, we can make a whole bunch of these work just in eternal formats. So why don't we get rid of silver borders? Good, bad, or ugly, here they come. So you now have an Acorn stamp. The Acorn stamp will replace the silver borders, because silver borders are like, the bane of existence for most Magic players. They just hate them.
Right. And
also, you can't do full art on a silver border when you have a border. So there's that. So there's an Acorn, and that's going to be the weird stuff. So 2 Acorn cards from Unfinity, just so I don't run this one forever. Ruben, tell us about Killer Cosplay.
So Killer Cosplay is a 1 green mana equipment that basically lets you suit up as another character that you control. As long as they share exact casting costs, which doesn't seem that terribly difficult to do. You need to turn your, let's see, what would be the best one? Turn your Ginger Brute into a Phyrexian Dreadnought.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of stuff we're doing.
Right. So this is really cute, sort of cards that are doing weird, crazy things. But, they're also not going to be in eternal formats. Now, some of them are going to be in eternal formats. And Nurgirl, I don't know if you want to take one of these or not. It's up to you. But I absolutely adore the Space Family Goblinson. If you want to tell us about that one, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Let me see if I can get it up quickly in a format I can read it. So the Space Family Goblinson, you keep moving it, man.
Oh no.
Has trample as long as you've rolled 3 or more dice this turn. Whenever you roll a dice, put a +1/+1 counter on Space Family Goblinson. This reminds me of like the Christmas cards, which I'm a huge fan of, like these cute play on words. I think this is great.
Yeah, this is sweet. So a 4-mana 1/1, you roll dice, you put counters on it. Of course, it's calling back to both like the Jetsons and
and the Swiss Family Robinson, which is a reference that I'm not sure most Magic players are gonna get. That's a weird pull. I mean, it's a great pun, but I think that it's whatever, man. But also, this one's going to be legal in old formats, right?
Right.
Because it doesn't have the Acorn stamp.
Right. Without the Acorn stamp, you can play them in Eternal formats, Legacy and Vintage and whatnot.
Which means the guest is a creature type now.
Officially. And a lot of people who around Orlando who work in the parks are like, oh, yeah, there better be a guest type. Because they know lots of them. Do note that the Commander Rules Committee has already came out and said that Squirrel Acorn icon cards are not legal in Commander. Honestly, people play Commander at their kitchen tables, so whatever you want to do is whatever you want to do. And honestly, I think more of those cards are just going to sneak into regular Commander games, and people aren't even going to notice, or they're just not going to care. Because are you really going to kick somebody out? Like, are we really that hardcore?
When it comes to Commander. Your conversation. Have your rule 0 conversation. Do what you want.
Yeah. So here is an image of the booster box and the super cool looking collector boosters, which the collector boosters.
Oh, they're cute.
Oh my God, they're adorable. And they have all foils in there, which is interesting. So they're going to be all foils. They're going to have a unique foil treatment called Galaxy Foil that they don't show off in this article, but they will soon. Do note, a little bit of a spoiler here. If you don't want to know, just mute for about 30 seconds. But one of the images that was shared of the booster box actually has this little circle on the right revealed where it notes that stickers are in every pack. Stickers and a space basic land is in every pack.
And that was official Something official said that.
Well, it was like the official product image, and they morphed it and warped it so they could see what it said, and you can make it out.
Because we're not a spoilers show.
Yeah, but I thought it was cool. We have no idea what that means, and it could be anything. Right. So
it's sort of like the art cards. It makes sense that we would do something fun and funky and include something unique in a pack. I like it. Right,
but what I was not expecting was to see all the Spacek lands. Oh my God! Right now on your screen are the Spaceks. Planetary Spacek lands. There are two types. There's the planetary,
those are pretty,
which are absolutely gorgeous, and then down here we get to see the orbital version, which that planes is just. I mean, come on!
I love them.
This is amazing.
So the planetary Spaceks harken back to unglued lands, especially with the mana symbol and the orbiting atom at the bottom for the mana symbol. And then the orbital ones harken back more to unhinged, with the wider frame and the sort of bigger art.
No mana symbol.
So is it going to be one? Is it random, or is one in collector and one in regular?
Well, there's going to be one of these. They say here the treatment. They're talking about the Cycle of Spacek lands are in every booster pack. The special treatment will be in one of every 4 draft boosters, and collector boosters have 2 slots for 1 traditional and 1 galaxy foil. So
it doesn't sound like there's a differentiation between the 2 types. It's just that one of those 10 will fall into the where they are in packs.
Yeah.
They're so pretty. This is all I want.
Cool. This is unbelievable. Like they said they were pretty, but my God, this is amazing. Yeah. So they didn't stop. I swear to God, they didn't have to keep going. We could have been just as geeked out over what just happened here, but we're going to keep going to see.
I care more about this than I care about Alchemy.
I know, right?
Same.
The 10 borderless Shocklands. Oh my God. These things are incredible. Ooh. They finally made the text box a little bit smaller there at the bottom so they can show you even more of the art, which is nice. Again, these are orbital space-based. I mean, the Overgrown Tomb is some crazy sky ship, which looks amazing. Yep. And Sacred Foundry is the destruction of Alderaan. I mean, happens to the best of us.
The Godless Shrine is my favorite, I think. It's like a black hole. It looks very cool. They're all great. These are all going to be $1 million, obviously, and you want to sell some packs, so you're going to put these in your space-themed Unfinity set. And I think that this is spectacular. I mean, we're finally getting Shocklands that aren't Ravnica themed. They aren't even Magic themed. They're space.
They're space.
Yeah. Can I pre-order a bunch of these through Cool Stuff?
You can pre-order
my special channel back behind channels.
Yeah. Special channels. Yep. You can't, but it's fine.
Get the Patrick Mahomes rate from.
I was asking for a special rate. I just.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, sure.
You just wanted to get in line early. You want that Disney Fast Pass.
I just want to be the first person to be able to put in my pre-orders before they run out.
Yeah.
Well, in a good example of how crazy things are with so many products and so many things happening all at the same time, the Water Gun Balloon game is a reprint from, I think it's Unstable or maybe Unglued or something.
I think it might have been Unglued. I'm pretty sure it's Unglued.
Yeah, this is one of the old school artworks, but it is going to be the participation promo for Unfinity. But it was originally spoiled with the oval and not the Acorn, even though this is an Acorn / silver bordered card. That didn't change. Yeah. A little silly, a little fun, even at the same time.
It does make a pink bear token, so you can't really print that in actual paper.
Right, and can't name it as a color on cards and all that other good stuff. So otherwise, I thought that was super duper sweet. And, Unfinity is coming. And if it's just as successful as the last one was, we may be getting more.
Yeah. Unstable was my favorite set of the year when it came out. They designed it to be drafted, which is how you want those. I mean, I think that this has the earmarks and potentiality to be huge. I am hopeful that, similar to Jumpstart, the first one, it will not be hampered by health issues across the world. Because if it's a set designed for draft, it's going to, and for in-store play, then it's going to be tougher as a sell. But, here's hoping.
I mean,
I never got to play the other one.
Yeah.
That sucks because that was fun, and Jumpstart, for example, was a product that, succeeded despite not being able to see in-store play, basically, because that was still a fantastic idea, and they're doing another one this year. So maybe this year we can have that. We'll see. We're moving here to Desperate Ravings, but check out our altar sleeves. Support the show by using the code MagicMikes at checkout for 5% off anything in the store, including a set of exclusive sleeves featuring the Magic Mikes crew at altarsleeves.com/magicmikes. And we are still doing the promotion. Get yourself in on that Patreon and get yourself a free sleeve.
That's right.
Sending out those emails to the people who have not done that already, and or our new patrons, of which there are some. Thank you so much for supporting the show. All right. So there's not a lot I really wanted to touch on, I think, for Desperate Ravings in particular. A few rants about there's a lot of cards being added, which we know, but it kind of also includes reprints. So it's kind of inflated in terms of what we're seeing. The store championship promos we've spoken about a little bit before. I did want to talk about the store championship promo real quick though, because we didn't see it. And then you had some photos of these for the Cool Stuff Games South Orlando store. Yes.
I just want to reiterate first of all, how cool these are, but also how rare and expensive these are going to be. I mean, if you have, especially the stores that have some amount of like clout, like not like people know, can you imagine how expensive a Neutral Ground stamped card would be, or, a Cash Cards Unlimited stamped card, Cool Stuff Orlando, Star City Roanoke, like these big game stores,
right,
are going to be spectacular.
I mean, it's going to be.
A lot of
go
these card stores are kind of like a lifestyle brand too. Like I see people who are not sponsored who run around with Cool Stuff and Channel Fireball, and they like the gear and the swag. And I think that this is a collector's item, not just because it's rare for the top 8 stuff, but also because it is associated with something that is near and dear to their heart, and that is their favorite local card store, the place they sell their cards, all that stuff. I think it's got a really neat touch to it.
If you've got a stamped card that says RIW Hobbies on it, that's a trophy.
That's
you know what I mean?
Thing, yeah. I mean,
so
it's both, right? It's clout both for the store, it's clout for you to be able to get it at that store, or try to collect all the promos from a certain store, which is kind of interesting. I mean, I thought these came out really nice. I mean, really sweet. This type of technology being used, I think, is a fantastic idea. If anything, I hope this goes off like gangbusters and we get more of this stuff, because the premium stores have to do a lot of work and spend a lot of money at times to keep that status. And this is the type of thing that kind of rewards them for doing all that work, which is great.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So let's see here. Was there anything else? There was something really interesting about implicit biases. I thought this was kind of fascinating. Here on Twitter, let me pull up the tweet here. Let's take a look at it. There was a Twitter user had said, look, I'm not trying to call anybody out here, but a good example of implicit biases we might all have from the NRG series. That's the Nerd Rage Gaming series streamed today. When Allie is tanking, she's unsure of herself, but when Kyle's doing the same thing, he's thinking it through. And that's
okay.
Just,
I think that is possible that it's implicit bias. We don't have enough information to know if there's anything truly nefarious or ignorant happening. It is a good gut check reminder for those of us who work in the public speaking sphere of Magic the Gathering and games in general to check ourselves, to make sure that we're not experiencing any implicit bias. I don't think that this is a value statement of any kind against NRG.
No, I'm not saying like they're trying to, say NRG is awful or anything, but I thought, someone basically said, look, this is a nice, clear example. I was reading on some other threads. It doesn't show you much when you're not logged in, but I was reading on some other responses of those who were involved with the event saying like, look, I didn't really think about this, and this was good to know. Thanks for bringing it to attention. This is one of those things that it's really difficult to kind of stop yourself doing, but you got to know the problem before you can fix the problem. And clearly it's just laid out right here for you. So I thought that was fascinating and interesting, and I don't have much else other than to congratulate Loading Ready Run for raising $1.2 million.
Amazing.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, they were
gracious.
They were back in the moon base for this desert bus, right? At least partially.
Partially, yeah.
Which was huge. So congratulations to them, and just one of the most amazing regular yearly things that exists on Twitch.
It's awesome. Raise money for Child's Play, and they did a great job, and they'll be back at it next year. So that's sweet. All right. We're going to, let's see, turn the corner here to the finisher. We've moved into December of 2021. Oh my God. Which means that it's actually the 578th day of March 2020. Who knew? So as the new year fast approaches and time becomes ever more meaningless, what are your plans for the new year, Ruben?
Well, a new year means a New Year's resolution. And I've packed a few extra cards into my main deck over the past 19 months of COVID-19. So my New Year's promise to myself is to take better care of myself. Make an effort to leave the house and walk more, get a few push-ups and sit-ups in every now and then, and of course, cut back on those unhealthy mono red cards. Because as you know, smoking can kill you.
Nice, nice. Our girl?
So a new year means new creative endeavors, new opportunities, and new things to teach these two dinosaurs. So my New Year's resolution is to finally get Magic Mics into the 20th century with new emotes, new notifications, and some new t-shirts. Seriously, you're both wearing shirts that are old enough to vote.
You know,
hey,
these are useful. These threads, they can keep me.
What do you think I am, made of t-shirts?
Goodness
Come on.
gracious. I'm proud of what I've accomplished, both personally and professionally over the pandemic, even with the restrictions and guidelines in place. But there are some promises left undone, some oaths yet to be fulfilled. So my resolution and my promise to you and to myself is to make sure all currently hanging pie bets between myself and my co-host get resolved in the next calendar year. It's pie time, baby. It's pie in the 22s. The 22 pie time.
I think I owe you two.
At least Baron Singer.
Baron Singer was the fastest payoff to a pie bet of all time.
That was incredible. It was like, what, 2 or 3 days or something stupid?
It was a day. It was the next day.
I've never been in a pie bet. What is a pie bet?
A pie bet, go ahead.
A pie bet is when we have a differing opinion of a prediction, and the bet is that the loser gets pied in the face.
Okay.
So pie crust, whipped cream.
Right. So I bet that they wouldn't print a Baron Sengier card in the next calendar year. And then the very next day they previewed the Baron Sengier card that was in Commander or whatever. So I lost that one. But yeah, we have, I'd have to go back and look.
It's been a minute.
See what the other pie bets are.
Yeah, we had to have viewers help us keep track and stuff. It was kind of ridiculous. But
pie bet payoffs on the March 14th show for Pie Day is very smart.
Ooh, I
like that idea, Darzog.
Cool. All right. Well, that ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things magic. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Hey, thanks everybody, and don't worry, the world isn't ending.
We're still here. It's going to be okay. As we move to our final slide, I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com, and Alter Sleeves. Use the code MagicMics on AlterSleeves.com. My co-host, Nerd Girl, and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, Twitch.tv at MagicMics, on Twitter at MagicMicsCast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.